Thanks, Tiernan. My name is Tim Griff. I'm the Deputy Legislative Director for the League of Conservation Voters, and I'm going to talk about three things really quickly. First, I'm going to talk about the scoring methodology of the 2007 National Environmental Scorecard. Then I'm going to give a few examples of the votes that we included in the scorecard and wrap up by talking about how Congress did overall. The National Environmental Scorecard is based on a total of 0 to 100%, 0 being the lowest, 100 of course being the highest. That total is determined by taking the number of pro-environment votes cast by an individual member divided by the total number of votes included in the 2007 scorecard. It's important to note, as Tiernan mentioned, that an absence counts as a negative vote in the scorecard. In the 2007 scorecard, we scored 15 votes in the Senate and 20 votes in the House on a variety of environmental topics ranging from energy policy to global warming, and including votes on public lands, the Farm Bill, and environmental funding. As the cover of the 2007 scorecard indicates, energy far and away took the lead as some of the most important key votes in 2007. While in 2005 and 2006, we saw votes that led America backwards on energy policy and really brought forward the failed energy policies of the past. The first session of the 110th Congress stands in stark contrast to past sessions of Congress and where we're leading our energy future. A couple of examples of this, most notably, Congress passed the first increase in vehicle fuel efficiency standards in over 30 years by requiring cars and trucks to reach 35 miles per gallon by the year 2020. The second big key policy that passed is we have now made our first real commitment to energy efficiency in this country by passing a series of policies including green buildings, building efficiency, light bulb efficiency standards, and for the first time, an energy and environment sustainable city block grant that is going to help the over 800 cities that have signed the Mayor's Climate Agreement to actually start to cut down on global warming pollution. All of these things together will really help us take that first step to combating global warming in this country. However, often the most telling votes in any given scorecard are the votes that didn't go the environment's way, and many of the key votes we score in this scorecard fit that description. While we did make great strides in energy policy, Congress still has a lot of work to do to pass several key issues that came up just short in the last Congress. Most notably, a minority of senators was able to block a policy that would have required a national renewable electricity standard that would tell utilities that they would have to produce 15% of their energy through clean renewable sources by 2020. Even more disheartening, as Tiernan mentioned, the Senate came only one vote short of repealing billions of dollars in tax giveaways to oil companies who are reaping record profits while consumers are suffering at the pump. The next big issue discussed in the 2007 scorecard is global warming. While the House of Representatives did not have a chance to vote on a comprehensive mandatory reduction of global warming pollution, they did have two individual opportunities to actually make a clear statement about the importance of addressing global warming. The first, Representative Norton Dix of Washington State sponsored a non-binding sense of the Senate resolution in the Interior Environment Appropriations Bill that endorsed mandatory limits on global warming pollution. Unfortunately, Representative Joe Barton of Texas offered a motion to strike this amendment, which was soundly defeated by a bipartisan margin. This vote marks the first time that the House of Representatives has ever made a firm statement that global warming is not only an issue, but that we must act urgently to solve it. The second global warming vote deals with national security. Supported by the testimony of a blue ribbon panel of retired admirals and generals, the Intelligence Authorization Bill called for a national intelligence estimate on the security implications of climate change. Representative Joe Hoekstra of Michigan offered an amendment to strike this provision from the bill, which was also soundly defeated on a bipartisan basis. Despite all the progress we've made on energy and global warming, we also faced a number of new threats emerging in 2007. The most notable example of this is liquid coal. Both the House and the Senate faced attempts to incent liquid coal technology, which is a fuel that contains twice the global warming pollution as conventional gasoline, not to mention the heavy toll it would take on our land and water from the increased coal mining. In the Senate, Senator Jim Bunning of Kentucky offered an amendment that would have required 6 billion gallons of liquid coal to be produced by the year 2022. And in the House, Representative John Shimkus of Illinois introduced an amendment to change the renewable fuel standard definition from renewable to alternative and change the definition of alternative fuel to specifically include liquid coal. Fortunately, both of these measures were defeated. On public lands issue, the House moved to reform the archaic 1872 mining law, which has remained largely unchanged since signed into law by President grant in 1802. The Hard Rock Mining and Reclamation Act makes important changes to the federal policies, including requiring new and existing mines to pay royalties for minerals extracted from public lands, as well as placing sensitive and important places such as roadless areas off limits. The bill would also take the royalties taken from the mining companies for the minerals and use that to clean up abandoned mines, which are a large problem throughout the United States. The House fended off an attempt to weaken the bill that was offered by Representative Steve Pierce of New Mexico that would have prevented the denial of any mining permit to mines that were determined to have caused irreparable harm to natural resources. And then the House proceeded to pass the bill with a stronger language intact. Sadly, not all areas of the environment saw improvement in 2007, and the Farm Bill is a good example of this. The Farm Bill arguably impacts more land and water than any other piece of legislation in Congress. The 110th Congress continues to make efforts today to improve the conservation aspect of the Farm Bill, but unfortunately failed in all their attempts in the first session of the 110th. Both in the House and the Senate saw bipartisan amendments offered to improve the total amount of conservation funding in the bills. In the House, the amendments offered by Representative Ron Kind of Wisconsin, Jeff Flake of Arizona, and Jim Cooper of Tennessee, and which was defeated. And the Senate, bipartisan amendments by Richard Lugar of Indiana, Frank Lautenberg of New Jersey, Byron Dorgan of North Dakota, and Chuck Grassley of Iowa, all saw that their bipartisan amendments fail as well. We look forward to seeing these and other bipartisan efforts to reform energy and environmental policy in the second session of the 110th Congress to build and continue off the tremendous progress that we made in the first session. So how did Congress vote overall? There are really two metrics to look at, both individual and collective. So let's start with individual. In the 2007 scorecard, we have 36 total perfect 100% scores, which breaks down 33 in the House and 3 in the Senate. Now that number is down from 93 perfect scores in 2006. But on the other side, we also have 50 to 0% votes, which breaks down 46 in the House and 8 in the Senate. That is also down from 100 in 2006. Overall, the national average this year was 53% for Congress as a whole, which breaks down for 53% in the House and 52% in the Senate. Now, what's interesting to note about the overall scores, both the House and the Senate increased by about 5% over 2006. This tells us two important things about the first session of the 110th Congress as compared to previous sessions. Not only did Congress vote better, while there are fewer individual good performances and also fewer individual bad performance, Congress as a whole voted better on the environment. And that is particularly true when you consider that the policies that Congress was considering were far better for the environment than in past years. So we really see that the policies of the 110th Congress are in sharp contrast to the previous two sessions of Congress on the environment. So now I'd like to open up to questions and fire away. Yes.
As a result of the scorecard affect your strategy heading into this election period? Are you guys now honed in on certain areas, certain races that have anything to do with the results of the scorecard?
Well, the scorecard is obviously an accountability tool, both to tell the story of what happened and to use it to make more things happen. So we still have the second session of the 110th Congress. We still want to make the kind of progress. We made some progress in the first session, but we have a lot more to go. As Tiernan said and Tim said, try to take those tax breaks from big oil and eliminate them and put those into clean energy technologies. Try to pass the renewable electricity standard. Try to make more progress on a cap on global warming pollution. But we also use the scorecard as a guide when we make our political decisions. So we've already, for example, put 3 members of Congress, earlier than ever before, on the Dirty Dozen list. And those members have some of the worst scores we've seen. They include Mr. Jim Inhofe from Oklahoma, who got a score of 0 on the scorecard. I think one of only 8 senators to get a score of 0. They include Mr. Joe Nolenberg, a House member from the state of Michigan, District Number 9, who back in the 1990s was the leader of the effort to deny any funding for EPA to even study the issue of global warming back in the 1990s. So he, again, been a denier of global warming, just as Mr. Inhofe has been. We just recently added a 3rd member of the Dirty Dozen, Bob Schaefer, who is a former member of the House running for the open Senate seat in Colorado. His lifetime score is 5%. So the scorecard is both a measure of what we've done, it's an accountability tool to make more progress in the second session of the 110th Congress, but also to be an accountability tool when we talk about the elections as well.